I was born and bred in New Zealand, in a small town just south of Auckland. Lived there for 39 years. I grew up, I spent 4 and a bit years in the Royal Navy in New Zealand. Came out of there without a trade and everything. So I ended up doing an adult apprenticeship as a fitter and turner for approximately 8 years. I left that and went to work for a small company for just under 10 years. Left that job and went and worked for another gentleman, but in the meantime I set up at home with my own business, set up in the garage. I was married at that stage. I have 2 children that live in New Zealand, both one turned 30 this year and the other one's 28. My marriage broke down in 1992. I met Edith in 1995. We met on a cruise ship, and then I came over to Australia. Since moving to Brisbane, I was employed by a company called NAP Engineering, who no longer exist. I rose my way up through there and ended up managing it, managing the workshop part of it anyway. Then I was sick of them because we were a company that was owned by another company and used as a tax writer. So I approached one of our customers and asked him whether he'd consider setting up his own workshop, which he agreed to. So I went and worked for him. When I had to give up work, I was 2IC of the company. We had employed 4 people down in the workshop, and I managed the workshop and everything like that. I'd been there for just over 10 years when I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2016. Ended up having to I was at work one day and then not at work the next day, in hospital. Had a major operation, of which I was on the operating table for nearly 8 hours. Since then, I've undergone chemo treatment ever since. So I was given a 20% chance to survive 2 years, and it's now been 3.5, and I still feel pretty well. I have side effects from the chemo, but all in all, I feel pretty well. And that's about my life's history. A short description of what I've been through. I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. We were a family of 6 kids. In 1963, when I was just on 5 years old, or coming up to 6 years old, we lost everything we owned in a house fire. Our house burnt down while we were away on holiday. So my parents struggled financially, but we never really wanted for anything. We were pretty happy-go-lucky kids. Used to play outside all the time. Of course, we didn't have computers and mobile phones or anything like that, so we used to ride our bikes everywhere. All our friends had bikes, and we'd just on the weekends we'd never be home. Leave after breakfast, and the instructions were be home for tea. But yeah, that's it. I think I preferred growing up in New Zealand rather than Australia. There was no worries about going and playing in bushes, creeks, or everything like that. No weird animals to bite you or kill you. So we spent a lot of time in the bush, and there's always flashes of memories, different things that you got up to. Like the time we found a bathtub and we tried to float it, and it was a cast iron bathtub and it just sank straight to the bottom. You know, we'd have dirt fights with the kids over the back. We used to build forts outside out of the firewood, and we used to have, my brother and I, we used to have this piece of canvas that we used to call the ring. And we used to go in there and fight and wrestle, and we did it out on the back lawn. We were kicked out of the house and told to go outside and play. It's a different life for youngsters these days with technology and that. Then when I was 16, I joined the Navy. When I decided to join the Navy, my father said to me, "No, you're not." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "No, you're not. I won't sign the papers." I said, "I'll get Mum to sign the papers." So Mum signed the papers for me to join, and then my father told me years later that he did it on purpose because he knew if he said I couldn't do it, I'd do it to spite him. And he said it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. In 1975, I was airlifted off the ship in Western Australia with appendicitis. So I spent a few days in a hospital in Albany, in Western Australia. And then I was flown home while the ship continued on. So all my gear was still on the ship. So I had nothing, and they flew me home. And from then on, I couldn't get overseas like I wanted to. And all the requests I put in to be drafted to an overseas ship or a ship going overseas were turned down. So in the end, I just said to them, look, this is not what I joined the Navy for. If I can't get on a draft going overseas, I'll get out and do something different. So they released me. I bummed around for a couple of years, 18 months or so, till I ended up getting a job at this engineering company. And I was there about a year, and I jokingly said about them training me. And they said, "Why would you be interested?" And I was, "Oh, yeah." And so they took me on, and I did an adult apprenticeship and became a fitter and turner. My father, when I was 15, owned a billiard saloon. And then when I left the Navy, him and I used to play in tournaments, and he was pretty good. He played A grade, I played C grade. My father's now passed away, and my mother. My mother passed away just over 12 months ago. She just basically died of a weak heart. She was in her 80s. But my father died of cancer. Be 25 years ago this year. Our family's now all spread over the place. I had a sister, the oldest sister passed away 18 months ago, nearly 2 years ago, from pancreatic cancer. But she was diagnosed and only lasted 3 months after her diagnosis. But I have a sister that lives up on the Sunshine Coast. We're always in contact. We don't see much of each other, but we're always on phone. I have a brother that lives in Gore, which is the bottom end of the South Island. I speak to him nearly every week. He rings, just checking up on my health. My brother and I never spoke for nearly 5 years, but there was no reason for it. We were just in different places, different towns, different countries. Yeah, our paths just didn't cross, so we didn't speak to each other.
Nothing was wrong.
No, nothing was wrong. He's visited a couple of times since I've been in. We're a weird family. The others in the family I don't have a lot to do with, even though if they visit over here, we always make a point of catching up and seeing each other. I haven't been back to New Zealand since 2015, I think was the last time I returned. And the last time I went back to have a look at where I grew up. And it's all housing now. Just expanded, something horrible. See, we used to have a market garden behind our house. We used to go and pinch the cabbages or whatever they were growing. And the farmer knew, and he didn't worry about it. Because we'd keep an eye on, if anybody was coming and stealing bulk loads or something. No, not really. Edith and I are not married, but that was probably a joint decision not to do it. Edith's been married twice before, but her upbringing was a lot different than mine. Her parents were very strict, very judgmental, whereas mine weren't. And so when we first met, she says, "I'm never going to get married again." I said, "That's fair enough, I don't care." And then we did discuss it when I was first, because something I didn't mention, was in 2009, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And we always thought that was what was going to kill me. The cancer that I had, chronic myeloid leukemia, which is a gene defect where two genes, a part of each gene, break off and form another gene. And that gene is what causes blood cancer. And I was put on this radical drug that had only just been released on the market, and they basically just stopped short of calling it a miracle drug, because it actually put my leukemia in remission after about 3 or 4 years, and it was undetectable from then on as long as I was taking this drug. And we always thought that taking that drug caused the pancreatic cancer, but there's no link to that. But the strange thing is, when I got pancreatic cancer, the leukemia still hasn't shown its head, and I stopped taking the drug once I got diagnosed with this. They stopped it when I had my surgery, and I tried to restart taking the drug after the surgery, like 6 weeks later, but it just made me that ill. Edith was going to ring an ambulance one night. It was that bad. So whether it was cured with this drug, I would not know, or whether the chemo has stopped it or anything like that. So Edith's had to put up with a hell of a lot in my health, and she's been wonderful. She's been great. But it's just, I don't know, all about respecting each other. Yeah, just probably that's my only thought really on it all. We talk about everything. We do a lot together. We have our jobs that we do within the house. I do most of the cooking, and Edith does the cleaning up. She tends to do the washing. I do the outside jobs, but she mows the lawn quite regularly because she likes mowing the lawn. Yeah, just doing things together that you like. Like, part of our enjoyment in life has been going on cruises. This is where we're going on Friday. We're cruising down to Sydney for the day and then back. So we leave on Friday afternoon, I think it's ours. Being Australia Day, which is Sunday in Sydney, and then back Tuesday. And this is the 15th cruise we've done together. It's something we enjoy doing, and the good thing about it, we both enjoy it. So we'll keep doing it. It's a bit hard at the moment because I can't look too far ahead due to my treatment and all that. But yeah, it's just enjoy doing the things you both enjoy doing. We're both people that enjoy their own company. I don't need a lot of people around me. Never have. In a little cocoon. I would say very little close friends in Brisbane. We have some great friends that live in Wagga Wagga, a pair that live in Adelaide, a pair that live in Canberra or Murray Bateman. And we see them as regular as we can. In fact, the couple from Adelaide are coming up to stay for a few days in February. But a lot of my problem is having to time everything around chemo, and we've sort of lost contact with a lot of people due to that. We haven't been able to spend time doing stuff with them. But that's, like I said, we're happy with our own company, so we don't need a lot of people around us. And I think people make too much of having all these friends as though it's a contest to see how many friends they can have. But at the end of the day, these friends, for example, the ones that live in Wagga Wagga, when you get together with them, it's as though you were with them last week. And the same with the ones that live in Murray Bateman, the same with the ones that live in Adelaide. And that's the way true friends are. I have one really close friend, myself, in Brisbane. He was a person that worked with me, and I still go into where I work and see the people there, because some of us worked together for 10 years. And I went to their Christmas party this year again, both Edith and I. So that was quite nice. But yeah, well, I had a fantastic job. I couldn't have asked for a better job. I was well paid, had a company vehicle, and I basically used to do nearly everything. And part of our products were electronic. And I was always interested in how this sort of stuff worked. So I've only really got into electronics since I gave up work, figuring out how it all works and all that. And then I did a couple of little projects because I've always made things with my hands. And it was very hard for me to give up work the way I gave up work. And it's taken me a long time to accept the fact that I don't have to do something every day, but my brain tells me I have to. I should be doing something, not just sitting here reading a book or watching television or something like that. So I had to have projects where there was something at the end of my efforts that you could see. But because of what I did as a fitter and turner, I was always having to make stuff. It was very hard, and it's still hard today. I've got to be busy all the time. I've got to be doing something. I do my jigsaw puzzles. Normally do them first thing early in the morning. 5 o'clock I get up. And Edith normally sleeps a little bit later. So I have a cup of tea and everything and sit there and do my puzzle for an hour. And then late in the afternoon, once I've sort of showered and everything, and I'll have a beer and sit there and do my puzzle for maybe half an hour or so. And I think it's helped me with my illness because it's instead of just sitting down and giving up, I thought I'll stuff here, you know. Yeah, I've always got to be busy. I just can't sit around and do nothing. Just not in my nature. I used to do them as a kid. Yeah, model cars, just the plastic models. Mainly because my brother did them as well. But not to the extent of what I do now. Yeah, and then since I got to Australia, Edith brought me the first boat when we moved to Brisbane. I think it might have been for my birthday. And so, yeah, and then once I did the first one, I enjoyed it. But because the boats took so long, I was impatient. So I used to do a plastic one as well at the same time. I used to do a lot more at night than I do now. Mainly because now, due to my medication and all that, I fall asleep. So I tend not to do them at night, but now that I've given up work, I tend to do them a lot more. You know, you see kids, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old with phones and everything like that. And we've got grandchildren, 2 boys and 3 girls as grandchildren. The oldest is 6. But the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old that live down in New South Wales, Heidi's just besotted with TV and movies, and they try to limit her screen time with that. But yeah, see, we didn't have that growing up. I think parents tend to use technology to occupy their kids. And I think the parents use it to keep the kids under control. But then a lot of parents these days, I think, can't be bothered with the kids. They have the kids, but they're so busy, they rely on technology to occupy them. But in saying that, I've also embraced technology. You know, I'm fairly competent on a computer. I can run most programs. I can use AutoCAD, drawing package. I used to do a lot of the computer setting up where I worked. And as you can see, you know, I have 2 computers out in the shed. I've got 1 in the house, smartphone, all that sort of stuff. I don't probably use it to its full capacity. And it's really good for us because we have contact all the time with FaceTime on the phone. So we actually are growing up with the grandkids. every day just about, see the grandkids. And because they live in New South Wales, we don't get to see them physically all that often. So, yeah, technology has its uses. So, yeah, I've embraced technology, but not to the extent that it rules my life. Brussels sprouts, can't stand them. Same with celery, I can't stand celery. I don't know, I just don't like the flavour. And it just, yeah. But they would be my two favourite foods. Celery and Brussels sprouts. My diet has changed drastically over the last 3 years compared to what it was. Used to love pizzas, pies, sausage rolls. I haven't had a pie for over 3 years. Oh no, I must admit I've had a little party pie. But I eat a very healthy diet. A lot of fruit and veg. Very, very little takeaway food. So, yeah, my diet controls our lives a little bit. I have to eat on time. Otherwise I get the wobbles through low blood sugars. I can still drink beer, but I drink a low carb, low sugar beer. Soft drink, I've found with this no sugar stuff, I can drink that. And there's a lot of stuff on the market now that's sugarless. Mind you, they have additives, and Edith mentions the additives to me and everything. I said, well, what are they going to do, kill me? I'm here for a short time now. I've basically had this death sentence hanging over me for 3.5 years. I've accepted it. It doesn't scare me. And so everything has either got a very low sugar count or no sugar at all in my diet. But we eat quite fantastic, really. No, not really. I don't. I think more of my own actions than somebody else's. I have tended to maybe always try to better myself. I come from a family that when we lost everything in the fire, Dad sort of lost interest. And he admitted to me later he had thought about suicide because he couldn't see how he could come back from losing everything. Like, we were on holiday, so there was no one home. So everything in the house went. We had clothes that we had on our backs basically and took away on holiday with us. The only thing that was saved out of the house was a sewing machine because it was near a window and they just broke the window and grabbed it. So my dad sort of gave up a little bit. And out of the family of 6, there's 4 of us that have not so much excelled, but have done very well for themselves, me included. I was on a good job. I was on over 100,000 a year, company vehicle. Yeah, it enabled us for Edith to give up work. I think it had more to do with the fact that we didn't want to end up like our parents, sort of scrimping and saving all the time and not achieving a hell of a lot in their lives. Like, they had 6 kids, but that was basically it. So the 4 of us have done really well, whereas the other 2, my elder sister lived on welfare basically all her life, and same with one of my younger sisters. She's basically lived on welfare all her life, and so they've never achieved anything. So I think the rest of us sort of saw it as though we had to achieve, and I think I have, to a certain extent. So yeah, we're all settled and stable. But your original question, anyone that inspired me, not really. Maybe I was inspired to not live the same life my parents had.
That's fair enough.
So, gonna make me think. I don't think so. No, I got no sort of skeletons in my closet. I've basically divulged everything I think I've ever done in my life. Like, I've had some hard case experiences, especially when I was in the Navy. I was a young fella, 17, over in Singapore, and this is back in the 70s. And some of the experiences as a young fella going to the brothel and all that, but I've shared all that with Edith. Edith knows all about that stuff. You know, drinking escapades. But no, I don't think I've ever done anything in my life that I haven't shared with somebody. Most of the experiences I've been with people, I've never sort of had alone experiences sort of thing. I've been with other people, so they've shared the experience as well. Like in the Navy, you never went out anywhere by yourself, you're always in a group. The squash club, we were always in a group. We had all-night parties. I could remember me and my wife walking home when the sun was coming up. From a Friday night, I used to always play on a Friday night and then get on the grog, and it'd be sunrise when we walked home. But I don't think I've ever not shared anything in my life, especially mostly with my partner. She knew all about my wife, ex-wife, same as basically I know everything about her ex-husbands. I even used to associate with one of them because he was the father of the kids. He'd have had 3. But basically they see me as their father figure now, especially the daughter. Because when Edith and I got together, she lived with us all through her teenage years. So now she sees me as a father figure, and she said at the wedding, on the wedding night, that she's got 2 fathers, one that's useless and one that's... because her actual real father's pretty useless. But yeah, I was cracking up the other day about something, but I can't remember what it was about. We had a good laugh over it though. We have a lot of laughs over the grandkids because we do FaceTime with them, like the girls. And the daughter, Emmy, the youngest one, she's a year, just turned 1 a couple of weeks ago. She is such a cracker, and you just absolutely laugh. And same with Heidi, the thing that come out of her mouth. She's 3, going on 4. She'll be 4 this year. But some of the things she says, and like the other day, on the weekend, she was sitting at the table doing something, and the next minute she goes, fuck it. And this is a 3-year-old. And we just sort of crack up a lot about that. And, those sorts of things. And I can't remember the specific moments, but we have some good laughs. So, I can't remember. Have some good laughs, mostly about the kids, with the kids. That's a good one. I haven't really thought about it. I think people sort of don't communicate like they used to, but I think people tend to keep to themselves a lot more than what they used to. And I think an example of that is when we first moved into the street, some of the neighbours didn't even know who the others were. And by having that Christmas get-together now, and as you saw, like, it's the first time I'd actually spoken to you. It's the same as what you were saying now, earlier, about we've lived next door for 5 years and we've basically never spoken to each other. I think there's a lot more of that now. In this day and age, people live in their own little worlds, and I think a lot of it's got to do with technology. They don't talk to other people about what's going on. Like when we've started to talk to the people in the street, like Les across the road's been here 20 years, and he didn't know half the neighbours. And I think that in New Zealand, there was a lot more community sort of things. These days, people believe what they hear in the media, right? The media tell you what they want you to hear. They don't tell you the truth. And a lot of people, and I'm especially, I suppose you would say dispassionate maybe, about climate change. People do not investigate the full facts. And everybody at home can do a lot better, I think. You get a lot of these people, for example, what's her name, Zaylee Stiegel. She was going on about climate change and everything. And it was discovered she didn't have solar power at home and drove to V8. And here she is raving on about climate change, but she's not doing her bit. And I think a lot of these younger ones, and this is not a slight on the younger ones, so don't investigate the full facts. And you see them at this protest rally, and how many of them are carrying plastic water bottles? So I think in this day and age, people just need to not so much listen to what they hear on the radio or the TV and that, but investigate the facts for themselves before they start opening their mouth and shooting their mouth off. It's really annoys us at times. The younger generation go on about our generation, about how we've ruined the earth for them. But if you look at a lot of the things that have only been introduced in the last 10 or 15 years, of which the older generation have had nothing to do with, is that what is causing a lot of the problems as well. So, but yeah, I just think people need to make sure of their facts before they open their mouths. So.